If you're the owner of a retail store or online retail store, then I know that the best part of your day, the best part of your week is pricing. What could be more fun than just deciding between that $9.99 or the 10.30? One makes more money, the other one looks more attractive. Using that little gun and you go like Star Wars Yoda doing your thing if you've got a real retail store. What a life it must be. However, my understanding now, shockingly, is that things have changed. Products can now price themselves. They can learn buyers' shopping habits, and artificial intelligence can actually do that pricing for you. It's phenomenal. It's incredible. And here to talk to us about it today is Mark Morris. Mark, thank you so much for joining me on scottcundill.com.
Oh, Scott. Yeah. Okay. Well, Scott, I think the message really is that in today's world, with big data, cloud computing, AI, and machine learning, we can predict shopping behaviors to the point that we know pretty much who's going to buy a product, when they'll buy it, how much they'll pay for it. We can also predict what other products they will buy with that product. So we kind of can see the future using machine learning and AI, and that enables us to create offers for shoppers that make the most sense for them, that are relevant, meaningful, and significant to them as people, as individuals. And it also helps us to create offers that make the most sense for brands and retailers at the same time. So you're kind of moving away from a point where for somebody to gain, a shopper to get a better deal on a product, that either the retailer or the brand had to give up something. And we now in a time where we're from that kind of finite thinking to a more infinite thinking world where retailers, the brands that they supply, and the shoppers who buy in those brands can act in such a way that it creates more value for all of them at the same time, and they can share that value amongst each other. So it's a brave new world using machine learning and AI.
So you've made a number of very interesting points there. So let's kind of tackle them one by one. So the first thing that you talked about was this notion that you can learn from customer buying habits. Now, anybody that shopped on Amazon has seen that before. Suddenly you want pink shoes and then you want socks with it. That kind of stuff. Now, that's been around for years. I'm guessing you're saying this has now evolved even further. Can you give us some examples?
So, the kind of the most simplest version of the stuff that you're exposed to is that companies like Amazon will use simple logic, linear logic. That's just people who buy this product or read this kind of book or whatever will also buy this kind of product. So they have a concept of related products. And you've got price elasticity, so they'll know that if they offer a deal, that people are more likely to buy, or more people will buy, so their sales will go up. And that's the most basic form of what you're talking about. We've now reached a stage where we can calculate the tipping point. So when people will buy something, or sometimes you'll kind of reduce the price, but not enough to be meaningful or significant to people. So that's part of the new equation, if we put it that way. But you can also able to calculate the impacts on profitability, what that means for the brand, what it means for the retailer, and is it meaningful and significant for the shopper at the same time, and base your decisions off that. So it's I say it's more of a win-win calculator that's trying to maximize the value for all of the players at the same time, rather than just manipulate people into doing something or using simple logic, linear logic. So
this is interesting. If I can stop you there. So this is fascinating. So what you're saying is it's not just about trying to manipulate someone into buying. It's actually looking for win-win on both sides. It's looking for how to make the customer feel better, doesn't have that cognitive dissonance. You mentioned earlier, which was the second thing that you mentioned, which I think is also fascinating, how that when you make an offer or special promotion, you're losing. You immediately think you're losing, but you're not. Can you take us through that process?
Okay, so if I can use a very, very simple analogy, is that, if you've got a typical relationship where you're trying to give a shopper a better price, you think of it as the profit, as a pizza, where you're fighting the brand owner, the retailer, and the shopper are fighting over the slices of the pizza. And for the retailer to get more profit, the brand owner has to lose some money. They have to give up some of their profit. For the shopper to get a better deal, the retailer has to give up some of his profit, and potentially the brand owner has to give up some of their profit. Whereas if you calculated the triggers correctly, and you know what value represents, and you know how many people in your store will respond to an offer, and you can calculate how much extra value you will create for the retailer and the brand owner, you can calculate what that additional profit is and share that additional profit with the shopper. Now, in that scenario, you're not fighting over slices of the pizza. You three of you are collaborating to figure out how to make more pizzas.
That is a really great analogy. That's really, really great. Now, Mark, I know that you live and breathe this stuff and you're really, really under the skin of it. And I want to hear about how you implement this. But I guess the first question that a lot of retailers are going to be thinking about is that I'm just starting out with this, or I've been in the game for a while, but COVID came along and I'm moving my business across to an online business. I don't have time to talk about pricing. My business is still too small. I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
It sounds like when you hear the stuff in the news, it sounds like it's only for the really, really big players. But with Shopperlogic, you've actually created something that can actually be really useful, and you don't have to be a mega massive store to make it work.
Absolutely. The beauty of cloud computing and big data is that you don't have to invest in massive amounts of capital to go buy big machines and do all this calculating for you. You just send the data up into the cloud, and you're literally renting the machines to do the calculations for you. It's also made it much more affordable. It's much more elastic, so you can grow as you increase the spending as you grow, and you can fund your growth from the profit you're making from the small successes that you initially have. So it really has opened the doors from an infrastructure point of view for smaller retailers. And then the AI and the machine learning has become also much more affordable, but at the same time a lot less complex. So the machine learning logic is relatively simple logic, but it's just happening at such scale that it takes a machine to do it. It's not complicated stuff, and it's stuff that people do in their head all the time. They just don't do it at the scale that all these machines can do. So it's more, the breakthrough here is really in the practical application of it, not so much in the technology. The technology has been around for more than 10 years. It's not really that new. It's the new comes from the affordability of the machines, the increase in computer power to do things at scale and do it really, really quickly. And then people starting to understand the practical applications of what you can do with it. That's what's coming to the fore.
Tell us some of those, the benefits. I mean, if I'm a retail store owner right now, and this sounds really interesting, it sounds like I can put it together relatively quickly. Talk us through some of the benefits. Does it mean I don't need as many staff on the floor? They can be redirected elsewhere. Does it mean I will maximize more profits? Does it mean that I will keep my clients for longer? Just talk us through all the benefits.
Okay, so at the moment, the predominant thinking around getting more people to come to your store and to make them more loyal is to offer them discounts. And what shoppers haven't, or retailers haven't figured out, or don't know their way past, is the fact that offering somebody a discount actually makes them more disloyal. It makes it harder to get them back into the store, because you're teaching them to be price sensitive. You're teaching them to only focus on price as opposed to quality and service and the relationships. And for those people to become loyal to somebody else, they just have to find a cheaper price, which they will somewhere else. So, a lot of the retailers think of discounts as a way to build a sustainable business, but it's actually destroying their business. It's making their business less sustainable and more fragile. What we're able to do now with this kind of technology is focus on relationships and treat people like individuals and like human beings again, and like we did 100 years in the past, and to offer them things that are meaningful to them as individuals, that are significant to them, and tell them, that communicates to them that we understand them and we get them, and And that's the only way to build a relationship, is to have some kind of empathy. And when somebody does something that you benefit from, to thank them and to share in the benefit that they've created in your life. And that's effectively what we're doing with this big data. We're building, in a weird and wonderful way, we're building much more deeply personal relationships using machines than we can anymore with our own human ability. Because, you know, quite frankly, you've got this store owner that's trying to build relationships with tens of thousands of people at the same time, and, you know, mentally and emotionally we're just not equipped to do it. And
Wow.
and yet the machines can give us that power.
Yeah, I think in the retail space, it's certainly where this can work, and you've implemented successfully already. I mean, I know that you've got many clients using your using Shopperlogic. Just quickly, just take us through Shopperlogic. What made you decide to start the company? Tell us a little bit about the organization itself.
Well, Shopperlogic actually comes from years and years of building so Salesforce execution technology for brands, and learning what you know, what drives brands and what drives people to buy brands. You know? And in the process, you have to understand shoppers. And the more you understand shoppers, the more you realize that it's you know, people are really just I'd say trying to find a deal, or not a deal, something that they're trying to find the best value, the things that mean the most to them at the best price, and they don't want to be ripped off. And they want to be treated like human beings, you know, not cannon fodder in the marketing process. So marketing has always been a kind of a segmentation process, where you treat all women the same, or all men the same, or all young people the same, or all old people the same. And you become part of a group of people. There's no individual relationship with you. And the realization for us at a point in time that you could take each person and treat them like a person, and build a relationship with them at that individual level, it's just too much to ignore. You know, the possibilities are too strong and too powerful. It just makes too much sense. So the minute it became affordable, and we figured out how to do it, and we could launch it commercially, we jumped at that process. In as early as 2013 we started to do this. Most of the big retailers have caught on around about in 2017. I think a lot of the big retailers started implementing the same technology, so it became mainstream 4 years later. And today, I'd say out of the top 80% of retailers are all using this kind of technology and starting to explore what it can do for them. A lot of them are inhibited by the fact that they've invested so much money in older technology that for them to make the change is quite difficult. And therein lies an opportunity for the smaller retailers to be more flexible, more nimble, move faster, and compete against the bigger players. So I won't mention that.
Point.
Yeah,
and I've seen it happen often. Just on that note, because you watch how these big, giant, megalithic companies are so in bed with a particular strategy or particular software that they can't get out of it. I mean, a classic example, totally different industry, is your big banks. They're still stuck with those mainframes, and literally, there's a problem with big banks that the people who can code on those mainframes are retiring. They don't have anyone else who's learning the new stuff, but they're still running these legacy systems. So now is that opportunity. And what I love about what you do, Mark, is you really have taken unbelievable technology and made it affordable and made it accessible to the smaller player. So if you are listening to this, you know, if you're in retail and this is something that you're looking at, please contact Mark Morris. His details are in the bottom of the description of the video you're watching right now. And once again, Mark, thank you so much for joining me on scottcundill.com.
Cool. Thank you for your time.